Welcome to FrontLines TV, where miracles happen. Today we have some wonderful people, mission workers with us in the studio here in Gospel Ministries International, and they are Dwayne and Wendy Harris. Welcome, you guys. We're so glad you're here. I know you've been traveling a lot this summer, and we're glad that you have just a few moments to spend with us before you go back. Tell us a little bit about you. Where are you working and where you're serving?
Well, we work and serve in the Philippines. I've been there over 16 years. My wife.
20 years.
Wow.
It's been a long time now. We
Praise
met
the
over
Lord.
there, so.
Wow. We met over there, and over those period of time, we've been around over much of the country and have 4 different air bases scattered out across the country, and work around most of the
Areas of the Philippines.
Okay.
All over.
What's it like to work in the Philippines? Some people work in different parts of the world. What's the Philippines like, and what do you do during the day? What's it like on a daily basis?
Well, the Philippines is actually, as far as a mission field, probably one of the easiest and most friendly places to work in the world. We feel blessed by that. We are primarily doing medical aviation type stuff, and then there's a lot of other side things we've gotten into over the years, but from literacy schools and lifestyles, medicine, lifestyle centers, missionary training, building
Church
stuff,
planting.
church planting. So there's a lot of different things we're involved in, but on a daily basis, they have our devotions first thing in the morning, and then eat breakfast and start doing whatever the agenda for the day needs done. Sometimes that's flying, sometimes it's fixing aircraft, sometimes it's building stuff or administrative stuff. So we stay busy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know many times people go to the mission field and they have all these other things to do besides mission work, or so it seems. And I know that when we've been there in the mission field, that's what we've experienced as too. It's like, Lord, I want to get out there and I want to meet the people and I want to actually share the gospel message with them. How does that work with your daily operations? How often do you get to do that?
Well, any time that you have interaction with people, it's a potential, opportunity to share something
Anywhere in the
with them.
world, really. Yeah.
And that could be just through normal business transactions. But when we're able to actually help people with something they have a need with, like medical, like say emergency medical evacuations, that puts you into a much closer relationship, and oftentimes that will break down all barriers too, and it's easy to share with people during those times of need especially.
So what types of mission flights do you make? I know you've got several different kinds of aircraft, and why would you use one aircraft versus a helicopter, etc.?
Well, with the flights, the bulk of the flights we do are medical evacuations, like emergency medical stuff. And we have helicopters and airplanes. The helicopters typically will operate in the mountainous areas. Too rugged, you can't put airstrips in. The airplanes do the more long-range, long-distance stuff out to more remote islands that may have grass airstrips on them.
And what's it like when you go out on a call? I'll call it a call. You get called, someone's in trouble, needs some help, needs to be evacuated for some reason, they've gotten hurt. What is that? What are some of the situations that you've encountered there?
All different kinds.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things. Pregnancy complications are probably one of the big things. The
Motor vehicle accidents on the islands when there's actual vehicles or motorcycles. The mountains, of course, there's not going to be motor vehicle accidents, but
Okay.
in the mountains we'll have malaria, typhoid, things like that. Yeah.
And then, we've even had cases where people have fishing with dynamite and blow an arm or a hand or something off. So it varies quite a bit.
So in that process, how does that give you the opportunity to share the gospel message with these people?
Well, if you look at the life of Christ, what did he typically do? He'd go into an area and heal everyone and then preach to them and share with them. And that's the best way to get their attention, is just helping them with whatever their need is. Even if it's not medical, there's other things too that people have need of, but when you can help them with their need, it opens doors to be able to share spiritual things.
So you guys have been traveling here in the U.S. I think you might have gone up to Canada. I'm not sure.
Not this time.
Not this trip? Okay. So why do you want to go back to the Philippines? What did God put in your heart that called you to go to do mission work?
Well, for me, seeing the need of the unreached, like there's a need, of course, in the U.S. and many places around the world, but in many countries there are people that just really have no access, very limited access to coming across other Christians or Adventists, and there's also maybe not a lot of people that are willing to go to remote areas or to live in a different country. And I felt called by God personally before I even met Dwayne, and I know he felt called as well when he came over to the Philippines and we got married, and we just both have this calling from God to continue to work and serve in a kind of a creative way as well, using the aviation that maybe some of these people would never be reached otherwise because they're so remote. So, simple answer.
Kind of grew up with the idea that, missionaries, you would just directly go in and, study the Bible and share spiritual things with people. But I'm just grateful that God has opened the opportunity to serve with the set of skills I have. And I think that can go for just about anything, that God has different talents that God has given people. But, he's given me talents with mechanics and aviation and stuff. And having the opportunity to serve in that capacity is, I just feel privileged to do that, and being able to serve initially there, just the idea of being able to be of direct service to the Lord, but you're not directly the one all the time, studying with the people and stuff. So it's kind of a back, you're kind of serving behind the scenes, I guess, how you put it. Maybe not so much directly spiritually, but you're playing that part in that link, that chain that God uses to draw people to Him. One area we work up in North Luzon on the west coast, or on the east coast, it's cut off by a mountain range, but there's a few airstrips back in there, so you can only get over there by air or by boat. But it's like an 8-hour boat ride if you're trying to get out by boat. And the medical facilities there is very limited, and the churches, had work back in there for quite a while, but it's been very slow. And the perception of the people had been somewhat negative towards Adventists because of some things that had gone on. But there was a pastor they assigned over there, and he was really praying, what he can do to connect with the people, and was really felt convicted to, work closely with us. And so he began being the point of contact for any kind of medical evacuation requests. So they would tell him, he would call us, we'd fly over, and then he was always there to help the patient load and unload, meeting meeting them when they come back and helping when they go. And over a few years, that completely broke down barriers in the whole community. And he was telling me, he's like, I don't ever go out asking people if they want to study the Bible. He's like, I got people come to me all the time saying, Pastor, when can you come study with us? And he said all of this would not have happened without the airplane. He's like, that's been the tool that is kind of key that has unlocked the door for the work over here. So, we're just kind of a link in that chain, with the aviation.
And now he has many church groups all over that region of Palanan, it's called, on the east coast of North Luzon. Many church groups and more people just asking and asking. He can't keep up with all the requests. How many baptisms? I don't know, hundreds of baptisms just over the last few years. And, aviation's played a big role in that, just helping the people.
Wow, praise the Lord. So it sounds like he might need some lay pastors there to help with Bible studies.
He does. We've trained and sent him one Bible worker about a year ago, and hopefully be able to get him more help.
Now I know there's other locations that you guys are working on, Palawan and Mindanao. Tell us about those locations and what's happening in Mountain View.
Well, in Mindanao is our most recent project. There's a college there called Adventist College, Mountain View College, and we have leased some property from them that we have an airstrip on. There was an airstrip there years ago, but they didn't have any pilots anymore, so it kind of got turned back into farm ground. So we rebuilt the airstrip and built a hangar and stuff, and we're in the middle of networking and trying to develop the flight program down there right now. And God has opened some other doors for us with construction specifically, and Lord provided us with a machine that a roll forming machine that makes metal studs and tracks so you can make light metal frame buildings quickly. And so we're working on kind of quick build church buildings that we can hopefully help replicate. And there's other ministries and stuff in the area also that have a need for a lot more buildings, and so we're trying to help them with some of those needs.
Now, there was a helicopter that went down, I believe it was last year. And
A few months ago.
It was a few months ago? Mm-hmm. In March. It was in March. It was a very unfortunate situation, but people are still wondering, have you been able to find anything, any evidence of any kind that would give us some hope that we might be able to find them, or even find the remains of the wreckage or anything like that? Anything? Can you give us an update on that?
So that helicopter and pilot Daniel Louie, they were based in Palawan at our base down there, and it was March 1 that they were on a return flight from the furthest south island that he would ever go, a little small island of Mungsea, and on his way back, and they disappeared out over the water. The nearest islands were about 15 miles away, and we still have not found anything. The only things that were found within a few days after the crash was a pair of shoes that were identified as belonging to the nurse, and a pillow that was identified as belonging to the patient. But those are the only two things we have found of anything that was or could have been from that helicopter.
So this event made a lot of news. It went actually international and certainly national within the Philippines. What has been the result of that exposure for the mission work there?
God has really used this tragedy as a blessing in a lot of ways, and the increased of course, media coverage caused an increase in the awareness, within the church community of what we are doing and some of the needs. And it seemed to be a catalyst to get more people interested in missions and going out and serving. And we've actually have 2 families that are coming to work with us soon that are a direct result of the media coverage and because of that tragedy that happened. And we have heard other stories of how, that affected and influenced other people to go out and serve in other parts of the world as well. So while it was a tragedy, God has really been using it in a powerful way to further His work and getting more people involved.
And you'd think that maybe people would be more afraid, like, oh, it's dangerous to do something like this, and maybe there's a few that maybe stopped and thought, well, maybe I don't want to do something like this. But for most people, it seems like it's, especially young people, but we even have older people coming as a result of this, missionaries that are it's just, either it was because they didn't know we needed help in a certain area and then they heard or they actually were inspired. They weren't planning to be missionaries, or God had been working on their hearts, but they just were kind of resisting. And then they heard this and they said, you know what, I want to live for God in this, even take risks for God, because we all want to live for something that's worth dying for. And I believe that's kind of been the case for some people, that they have, especially young people that are wanting to do something great for God and just, willing to, as they were inspired by some of the videos of Daniel and Janelle and just the amazing work that, God was using them to do, that I think it's just been a blessing. We've been praying for more missionaries for years, and, I don't believe God allowed this or caused this or anything, but He is using it for an amazing good, and we are thankful despite the obvious very sadness, and especially for the family members and those that were closest to Daniel, Janelle, and the patient's family members. That is still very difficult for them, so please keep praying for them, and keep them in your thoughts and prayers.
So how many staff do you have now working with you in the ministry?
We have approximately 70 people.
70?
Volunteers across.
It's hard to keep up, but it's approximately,
across around the whole.
All of the air bases,
Okay.
And that's, Bible workers, teachers, of course, pilots, mechanics, medical missionaries, construction workers.
Agriculture.
God is really blessed. Wow. And do you have a need for more staff?
We do, actually. There's so much.
And what areas do you need help in?
We need some capable people with building construction stuff. You don't typically think of, a construction worker as a missionary, but actually there's a big need for it. And someone that, with the knowledge, to be able to build the light metal frame buildings. It's similar to the building, typical residential building you do here in the States, but that kind of construction it's very new and not widely done in the Philippines, so it's hard to find people that really know how to do it well.
Could people come, like, say, on a project basis for 2 to 4 weeks, or maybe a couple of months or 3 months?
Yeah, for sure, especially with the construction. That's something that, if someone's experienced, they can be a big help just for a few weeks.
How could people get a hold of you to say, I'm interested, I want to join, and I want to be a part of a mission project? How could they contact you?
Well, they can contact us directly through our emails or phone numbers.
Or the website has all of our information on it. Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and post that information on the screen so that people can write that down and they can contact you.
And I think that information is also on the GMI website.
Okay. what are some of the needs that you have there for the mission work specifically? You've just mentioned you need laborers, people who can work in construction would be a great help. What are some of the other examples? Are there things that you need? The helicopter went down. Is that going to be replaced? I mean, tell us a little bit more.
Well, God has blessed and opened doors for at least one more helicopter, potentially two more because of that loss. And there was one that was on its way over being shipped from the U.S. when that happened too. So God has provided to replace that, and so we're grateful for that. You know, there's ongoing needs with some of the different building projects we're involved in, you know, not only for laborers and help, but from the financial side. And, you know, God has been providing and sustaining over the years, where we've kind of been continually growing and expanding and getting into different things. And there's a new project we're going to be involved in, probably all the building of a clinic that's up in the mountains that's focused on serving the indigenous people in the area. And we have a network of young doctors and stuff that will staff it, but we're the ones that will end up building it. And I don't know how much we'll be involved in some of the administration, but we seek to take every opportunity God opens if it's within our capacity to help do it. And this is another thing that has recently opened up that we feel that it's God's directing us to take the lead on making the building happen, since there's others that are ready and willing to staff and operate it.
So what I've heard so far is laborers are needed, Bible workers, construction workers. Do you need pilots? Do you have enough pilots?
It seems like we can always use more pilots. You know, we've had several new people join us recently as pilots, but when you consider, you know, people going back on breaks and things, and we're still growing in different areas of aviation as well, seems like we always still need more pilots. I was thinking, we have about enough now, but then it's evident we still don't.
Well,
and mechanics, good mechanics, especially people with experience.
And what about, you said you have enough doctors and nurses to staff the clinic?
We need help with the lifestyle center, actually. Not sure about the clinic yet, what we're going to need for that, but in Palawan, the lifestyle center, I was just going to mention that. I'm glad you brought it up, because we really need people who are interested and experienced in lifestyle and natural remedies, and really love to do community work and things like that. So
my wife and I would love to go.
Oh, I wish you could.
She's got that background in the lifestyle. Yeah. I'm sure there's other people out there that have those talents and those skills that would love to join.
We have a nice new facility. We have right now just one lifestyle nurse and some local newer nurses and things like that don't have any lifestyle background. So that's what we got right now. So we need some help.
So Dwayne or Wendy, what would you say to the viewers right now that would encourage them to get involved, to answer the call that God is speaking to their hearts? What would you tell them?
Well, in my experience, I've done a lot of different things, you know, before I got into missions, and they were fun and exciting. But in missions, there is nothing that is more fulfilling and rewarding than being in full-time service to God and letting God direct, you know, your steps. I mean, feeling that dependence on Him. And that's why I love to be out there, because I'm dependent on the Lord. I feel that dependence, and it keeps me on my knees seeking Him each day. And until you've experienced it, there just really is no other thing you can do with your life that brings more fulfillment and joy than serving God in whatever capacity He's given you to do that. And there's no better way than going to another country, to another culture that you have never experienced before, to help accelerate that process, I guess, of sanctification and learning to trust the Lord and seeing Him work, because you really see that things are out of your control oftentimes, and it keeps you looking to the Lord to guide and direct and provide.
So you're going back when? Tomorrow? Tomorrow. Wow, so quick. And what's on your plate once you get there? What are you going to hit the ground running doing?
Well, there's a lot of things that need picked up. We had another accident right after we left that
A couple months ago.
severely damaged our other helicopter, an R-44 helicopter. And because of that, the civil aviation shut down like our flight operations while they do an investigation of it. So actually, last 2 months we haven't been able to, or last month and a half maybe, we haven't been able to fly any of our aircraft. So that is one thing I have to address immediately when I get back, is going to the civil aviation and trying to get that worked out so we can get our airplanes back flying. That one helicopter I mentioned that has been stuck in customs there for the last, I think, about 6 months. It's almost to the point where it'll be released here hopefully in the next week or two. That'll need put back together. And then this other helicopter I mentioned, God has provided, it's actually in Malaysia. So I need to go down there and get it ready and fly it up to the Philippines. So there's a lot of things that
That's a full plate for sure.
juggling here for a little bit.
That's a full plate.
And for me, I'll be just working really hard on an upcoming training we're going to be having there in Mindanao, but we're going to be inviting people from all over the Philippines and anywhere for Farm Stew, if you've heard of Farm Stew. So really excited about that project. That's another story, but basically addressing the what I call the root problems that we keep seeing, in all these villages. So year after year, we, trying to help these people who are in poverty and they're sick and they just have these early young marriages, and they don't know how to even provide for themselves. And this is just like generation after generation. And so I really like this program because basically we'll have local trainers, we'll train local trainers to go out and work in a community for not just 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, but for years, hopefully, to just help them with, teaching them how to grow food and how to have proper sanitation and clean drinking water and how to feed their children, and anyway, all those kinds of things. So
wow,
excited.
That sounds wonderful too.
Yeah, so it's lots going on.
And you probably need people there.
Oh, for sure, we need help with that program that we're trying to get going together with Farm Stew. But yeah, anyway, lot of things to prepare. And
But I think we need to ask everyone to pray for you guys.
Please.
For all of this work that needs to be done, and perhaps God will inspire them to also join you in that effort to help with all of these tasks. And ultimately it's for the purpose of saving and winning souls for the kingdom, which we know time is very short, things are happening very quickly. And so we encourage everyone to pray for Dwayne and Wendy as they go back to the Philippines. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here and for spending time and for your dedication to the Lord in going and saving souls for the kingdom. We appreciate that. Thank you. All right. And thank you for watching. Have a great day. May God bless you.